Baruchim Aboim, welcome everyone. I hope everyone's having an easy fast. And I hope perhaps that this message will try to also make your fast a little bit more meaningful. I hope it, even for me, I hope it'll make it meaningful. I'll be honest, I had a very difficult time having kavod on Rosh Hashanah, but I was very self-aware of that. And last night, one of my favorite YouTube rabbis, someone who I met one time and I've been reading on the internet for a long time, is Rabbi Ariel Bar Tzadok. And he was very blunt about the experience that he had over the weekend, and you can watch his videos. I recommend them. And I posted one of them on my community tab today, or last night, I believe. I don't remember exactly when. And he mentioned that we fast on Tzom Gedaliah to commemorate a right-wing extremist assassinating Gedaliah ben Achika. Very interesting, because Rabbi Bar Tzadok, I would say politically, is on the right, and yet that was the term that he used. So, reflecting on that, Rabbi Bar Tzadok, he said, we have to be worried about extremists both on the left and on the right, and the damage they can do. And I found it interesting. In the slichos we said this morning, there's a slicha from Rav Sadia Gaon, and it's the only one that really clearly is talking about Tzom Gedaliah and the historical events of Tzom Gedaliah. And Rav Sadia writes poetically, "V'eish v'hamayim Hazedonim shtafunu bedolkam." It says the fire and the water, the wicked, wanton fire and water, have drowned us with their burning, with their kindling. Basasu mikdash ubasasu chalkam. And it debased the temple, and it brought shame to the portion. Ziknei sheiros asher poltum yom nokum. The refugee elders ran away from the day of vengeance. Chubolu atav yom Tzom Gedaliah ben Achika. They were injured now on the day of the fast of Gedaliah, the son of Achika. And I find it interesting, he says the fire and the water, I think it's along the lines of kind of what Rabbi Bar Tzadok was saying. I don't want to get too much into current politics because of the warnings that YouTube gives if you say anything that they don't like. I don't want to get involved with that. But one thing is, I'm on record, and I believe those videos should still be on YouTube, and if not, they're at least on Rumble, on my Rumble account, as strongly protesting against any type of violence. And before the events that took place on January 6, 2020, I warned people, stay away, don't get involved, don't go. Not that so many people listen to me, but if even one person might be affected and listen to me, just don't go, stay away. Because it's playing into the hands of the other side. And I think there's a common denominator there. And it's similar, I remember as much as, I'll be the first to say, and my Rebbe, Rabbi Weinberger, said, there is no comparison between a tzaddik like Gedaliah and Achikam and a Rasha Marusha, and a saint like Gedaliah ben Achikam, and a wicked, evil person like Rabin. But nonetheless, he made the comparison between the assassination of Rabin and the assassination of Gedaliah ben Achikam, first and foremost because a Jew doesn't do that. You don't assassinate another Jew, even though it happened other times in history. It's interesting. We don't have fast days for when it was I forgot her name. The queen Atalia was in the Bible, in the Book of Kings. Right, there was a wicked queen who killed out almost all of the Zerah HaMelucha, the whole Malchus based of it, except Yehoash was survived. So there were other horrible things that happened. We don't have a fast day. This is a particularly strong fast day for this reason. I think it's to teach us that lesson, not to fall into the hands of those who seek to divide us. And the thing is that you might have someone well-meaning and even essentially a good person who does the bidding of the people that they're fighting against by engaging in evil acts. Quite often people like to say, people who are anti-religious, they like to say things like, religion causes violence, and that only, someone who believes in religion can make a good person do bad things. But if you're truly religious, you know not to do bad things. If you're truly religious, you know not to murder, not to steal, not to be a terrorist, not to do any evil things. And that is, I think it's apt how Dennis Prager says that's taking God's name in vain. That if you use religion as an excuse to do evil, wicked things, it's a chilul Hashem. It's a desecration of God's name. It's worse than taking God's name in vain. It's a desecration of God's name. But more than that, when Gedaliah ben Achikam was assassinated, right, it meant that the Babylonians won. Right? The very outcome that was Yishmael ben Netanya was the name of the assassin. He didn't want, right, the Babylonians to be in charge. And by assassinating Gedaliah ben Achikam, he gave it to them, right? And when the Zalmazach, when Rabin was murdered, that's exactly what Peres wanted. And probably some people say Peres was really behind the whole thing. And they say that whatever the story goes, that Yigal Amir, the gun he had blanks, and it was someone else who killed. Amir thought he did it though. And he handed them a victory because they're like, look how bad the religious people are. So if he did it, it's much worse, and even if he didn't do it, and he was framed or whatever happened, well, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. Whatever happened back then was it gave the victory to the left. And I think also the same thing people can understand with our current situation. If people didn't go in on January 6th, even though I think a lot of them were pushed in or whatever happened, maybe there could have been more clarity. But even whatever happened, and whatever the truth about the election, whatever it is, I'm not saying one way or the other, because you're not allowed to talk about that on YouTube. But it certainly gave a victory to the left, you know. They were able to wave this around and say, look at how bad these people are. So don't do stupid stuff like that. Don't do evil stuff like that. Don't do violent stuff like that, even though they didn't. What they do, and it was mostly whatever. You're not allowed to talk about it. But just don't do stuff like that, you know. And I think it's a message of trying to find moderation and trying to find unity, you know. And on the other side, this was about the destruction of the first temple. With the destruction of the second temple, we had the same problem. We had the Bar Yonim, right? The extremists, the zealots, and they're gone. And who do we have? Who saved Judaism? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Tein li yavna v'chachamecha. Able to find a way of peace and unity, strength. Tein li yavna v'chachamecha. So that's the message. We have to try to find unity. We have to find ways to build bridges. And that's really, I think, the message of Tzom Gedaliah, is that we can't be fighting. We can agree to disagree. But when there are those of us who have much more in common than who we have that separates us. People who believe in freedom, people who believe in liberty, people who believe in God, all different religions. We have to unite. Listen to Rabbi Bar Tzadok's last few lectures, where he talks about how we have to unify Jews and Christians and Muslims. And the truth is, there are libertarian atheists. And not only that, but there are good people who identify as liberal. And maybe are liberal. But they're not believing in totalitarianism. And that's, the message that we really have to bring out, is, we have to avoid the extremists on both sides and not be extreme on one side or the other. And so therefore, we have to find ways to build bridges and love and appreciate one another and not be, on the extremes. And that's the truth is, President Trump is a big moderate, almost liberal in many things. And, we've got to figure out ways to find unity. And, he could have been the biggest uniter, and I think that's why they hate him so much. Like, you hear the most recent thing, he's very moderate when it comes to a lot of the social issues. And the recent interview he had yesterday, and some people don't like that. And the truth is, I think that President Trump opened my eyes to be more moderate in a lot of things. All right, other people disagree, and I think we can agree to disagree, but we have to find unity. All right, God bless. Please like, subscribe, comment. We'll see you all later.